Hello and welcome to this new episode of What is New in the World of Blockchain. My name is David Orban and I am Managing Advisor of Beyond Enterprises. Uh, in the world of cryptocurrencies, blockchain, Bitcoin, almost every week there are so many new items, technologies, announcements, projects. The uh, entire industry and ecosystem is just brimming with initiative and opportunities. However, there are also longer trends that are brewing, and they are very important to um, look at, to analyze uh, with a right balance between what can be gleaned from the signals that maybe are influencing the values of cryptocurrencies every day, and on the other hand, the ability to see the bigger picture and the longer lasting trends that, as those of us who are longtime supporters of the entire industry, feel, believe, and desire, will bring more and more people to adopt cryptocurrencies, to understand the value of blockchain, and to concretely improve their opportunities through the understanding of the applications that are available, learning how to use the apps, the platforms, how to take advantage of the various benefits that all of this ecosystem offers. One of these trends that I think is going to be very important in the future is a new business model for the world of online video games, and it is play to earn. This new business model is the complete opposite of what a few years ago you would very naturally expect, where you would pay um, I don't know, $50 or even more for a video game, load it on your computer, and then start playing. Today, actually, more and more people start playing a game for free, and then rather than they having to pay, they are getting paid uh, through the skills, the items, and the activities, interactions, quests that they achieve. Now, how is this possible? What does this mean? What are the implications potentially not only for the world of online video games, but in a broader sense? That is what I will be discussing with our guests today, Luis Buenaventura. I want to welcome you, Luis, to what is new in the world of blockchain.
Hey, David. Thank you so much for the invitation. Everyone, good day, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I'm super happy to be here. Very excited to have this conversation with you all.
And yes, I am right now in Europe, and the real time of this live stream is accommodating the time zones as it is right to do, because Luis, if I am correct, you are in the Philippines.
Yes, I am. I'm living in a beach town north of Manila called, so the province is called La Union. It's kind of known for its surfing and it's that kind of tourism. So I've been doing the whole crypto thing on the beach. I can't complain. It's a pretty good lifestyle. I feel pretty relaxed. No matter what the market does. So I'm in a good
That's right.
spot right now to have deep conversations about the markets and the trends.
So I like to start with my guests, giving them the opportunity to tell a little bit about themselves, to ask their journey. How did they get into crypto to start? What was the trigger? And the reason why I feel this is important, because there are too many people who on one hand, believe, oh, it is too late. And we know
Mm.
it is never too late.
Yeah.
We are still at the very beginning of a long journey for crypto in general, but
Mm.
also people who are curious, maybe who are ready, often do not take that necessary first step followed by another thousand. So to learn what was the trigger is always important. And then through your journey, where you are now, what are the more exciting things that you are doing now, and then we will continue. Over to you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I've been in crypto for about 7.5 years now. In crypto terms, that feels like multiple lifetimes. I joined. We used to just call it the Bitcoin industry because there wasn't really other altcoins to kind of think about back in 2014. It was really just Bitcoin. So I joined right around the time that Mount Gox was imploding. And so my first lesson in the world of Bitcoin was, watch out for that volatility. Because in, kind of the month that I joined, I believe the price was about, in the $800 to $900 range, close to 1,000. And what happened over the course of my first year in the Bitcoin industry was that it dropped all the way down to $180. So the cheapest Bitcoin I ever personally saw was $180, but it was the result of a massive dump from kind of that all-time high. And those lessons kind of stick with you when you are starting out, right? It made me very, very careful and conservative and cautious when I think about kind of where to invest things, where do I put my capital personally, but and also like when you're making recommendations to people, um, what do you tell them, right? And so it was kind of because of these early learnings that a lot of my opinions of how this stuff works are kind of continue to be this way today, where I'm very conservative with when I make recommendations about things. So fast forward many years later, I am currently the country manager of a company called Yield Guild Games. It's a Filipino-led startup that kind of specializes in a very, very specific part of the cryptocurrency industry, which is what David was talking about earlier, the play to earn phenomenon. But in between those 7 years, from Mount Gox to kind of where I am right now, I've gone through basically every story you can think of when it comes to a crypto person who's trying to build businesses in the crypto industry, right? So I've done the whole Bitcoin remittance thing. We've created Bitcoin payment platforms. We've tried to do um, our own kind of what do you call exchange here in the Philippines. We're licensed and regulated by the central bank here. So actually, so I've gone that whole route, right? From taking Bitcoin from a black market kind of asset to something that is actually recognized by the government in the law. So I've seen that whole journey. It's been very exciting, sometimes frustrating, sometimes frightening. But I guess that's just the roller coaster ride of cryptocurrency in general. I don't expect it to change anytime soon either, because this, if anything, the speed of innovations over the last couple of years has become so fast that like I'm having a hard time keeping up. And so,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very
We
thankful
we
for shows like yours because you
we
actually highlight some of those trends, right? Because like, I'm surprised by how much I don't know. And I think that given that I started kind of way back, I am always humbled by how much there is to learn, even for people who have been around for a really long time. And that's a great industry to be a part of.
you mentioned a lot of very important things that we could touch upon, and maybe we will go back to them. For example, the relationship with regulators.
Yeah.
We are a strange kind of revolutionary who understand that the new will replace the old, but rather than starting with a complete destruction, and then from that tabula rasa build anew, we believe that it can be built alongside with important bridges that
Mm.
connect the two systems, the old system with the new system. And we also want to reassure the the protagonists who are active in the old system, that they can ease themselves into the new without the fear that traditional revolutions would comport of being just swept away. So
Right.
this is one, but there are also many others, and either today or maybe in a future episode we will go back to that. But
Sure.
what I would like to do now is to jump into the thick of our conversation, the theme of this new trend of play to earn. Where did it start? Uh, Give us one example or more, and how is it even possible?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot in that question. So I might do the context building first.
Yes.
Yeah, play to earn is a very new phenomenon. The term itself wasn't even coined until late last year. So actually, I would say that we are talking about something that is very, very young, very, very nascent. And the first example, the strongest example, is a video game called Axie Infinity, which is very, very big here in the Philippines. So the simplest way I can describe it is, if you have ever seen Pokemon, if you've ever seen the games based around the Pokemon characters and mythology, you probably already have a pretty good idea of what this game looks like, and possibly even how it works. And it was made that way specifically because they wanted to show people something that was slightly familiar, um, i.e., it looks a little bit like Pokemon. Therefore, it's probably cute, easy to learn, approachable. It's not intimidating, right? And kind of when they first started building this game a couple years back, there wasn't really this, kind of. I assume that they were dreaming big, but I don't think the founders themselves even kind of realized how much of a cultural footprint it would have in certain parts of the world. And what's most interesting about the Axie Infinity phenomenon is that it's taken hold in kind of a very unexpected place, which is the Philippines. So currently, there's about 1.8 million daily active users or daily active players of Axie Infinity. 50% of them live here in the Philippines. So we account for half of the entire population. And what does that mean? Well, it means that half of your population is speaking another language, from the like a different language from the creators. It means that it's possible that they belong to a completely different culture, a completely different socioeconomic demographic, things like that. And these are all things that we've observed, because the nature of play to earn is that you've got these cute little axies. That's actually what the little characters are called. You battle them. So a human player has their own set of axies, and they battle against another human player set of axies. And whoever wins in that battle, this is played completely online on your mobile phone or on your desktop. You will the winner receives a small cryptocurrency reward. And back when the game started, that cryptocurrency reward was so small that it was mostly just a value add. The idea was, this game is fun from us on a strategic standpoint. I've played it myself. I've played about nearly 1,000 games of Axie Infinity, 1,000 of these duels, and I can tell you very confidently that there is a strategic depth to it, where I don't want to play it unless I know that I can focus 100% on what I'm doing. I don't want to play it kind of while I'm kind of thinking about work or anything like that, because it's quite hard to win this game consistently. So the game itself is actually well designed, but initially the rewards were such that you wouldn't really feel it. You'd maybe make $50 a month. That's not really anything to write home about, certainly. But over time, as the cryptocurrency that underpins Axie Infinity got more and more popular, what happened was that the price started to appreciate. And it got to the point where instead of $50 a month, it became $200 a month. And it became $400 a month, $600 a month. And kind of where it's at right now is kind of in that $500 range depending on how good a player you are. And if you know anything about the Philippines, if you know anything about most developed markets, $500 a month is life-changing money for a certain class of person. And if you couple that with the fact that this was happening, this phenomenon was kind of happening during a lockdown where a very large portion of our population were losing jobs, everyone was stuck at home. They have mobile internet and they have cheap smartphones. Like that recipe was so specific to this one particular moment in time. And Axie Infinity happened to be that one thing that you could do while stuck at your home with your cheap, smartphone and your kind of middling mobile internet. Like it was enough. It was enough. And because of that, kind of it didn't even come from the capital cities. Like it was kind of the first pockets of very dedicated players were coming from some of our more provincial cities, because that's where the need was greatest. So these folks were playing from the point when it was earning them $100 a month, and now it's earning them 5 times that, and it's basically a full-time job, or it is the equivalent of a full-time job in terms of kind of relative pay. By the way, the just to kind of establish a baseline, the minimum wage here in the Philippines is about $200. So if you're playing Axie Infinity, you actually stand to make more than minimum wage. And generally speaking, the people who are playing this stuff, they're playing it 2 to 3 hours a day. It's not a 10-hour a day job. It's more like 2 to 3 hours, half the day at most, which implies that you can make money and still do stuff with your time. You can still, I don't know, read a book. Maybe take some online courses now that you have a little bit of extra money, or just kind of not be stressed about doing some kind of manual labor job. So that kind of whole thing, all of this happened organically, right? It wasn't something that the creators were pushing or orchestrating to the extent that we've seen in kind of other crypto projects. In this case, it happened because there was a need. And then as it got bigger and bigger, more and more people started to wake up to this possibility. More and more people started to get into the game. And that kind of buy pressure caused the token to go up
It
in
is a
price also.
very healthy development that naturally comes about through the additional number of people participating, and that is what a lot of white papers in their tokenomics section hope will happen, or will tell you will happen. But then they need to resort to borderline scammy pump and dump pressure or marketing promotions that do not represent the constant type of use that they originally thought would be there. Now, you mentioned an interesting component that for the developers of the game actually matters, and it is that the culture and the language of this huge subset of the total players is not necessarily English. Do you think that it would even further support the spreading of Axie if they localized it into Tagalog?
Well, so Filipinos are pretty used to, actually, so I should back up a little bit and compare this to other games, because the interesting thing about the Philippines, and kind of one of the reasons why you see a lot of crypto projects trying to kind of launch from here, is because we do speak English pretty well. So kind of a good enough chunk of our population are comfortable enough with English. They can read it. They can, when they watch YouTube tutorials, it's okay if it's in English, as long as it's not like really deep English. So we're actually pretty good at, kind of taking content or working with content from, the United States or from, parts of Europe and things like that. So we're actually a very interesting country in the sense that there's not all that many countries out there that are both an emerging economy and have a large enough English speaking population. That particular overlap of criteria is actually not that common, because think about what it would look like in kind of Latin America or Africa or India, right? I mean, in those countries the English speaking component is much lower than it is out here. Here it's about 60-70%. So good enough, right? So in a way, I'm not surprised that it kind of found a foothold here. And the game itself is simple enough that once a couple of smart Filipinos get their head around it, they're gonna start building their own content, right? And certainly, if you look on YouTube for Axie Infinity tutorials, many of them are in Filipino. They're not in English anymore because there's so much more of a viewer base that would appreciate it in Tagalog. So that's kind of the cool thing about it, right? All of this stuff is happening organically, and I'm very fortunate to be kind of observing this very directly from where I am, and it's wonderful to watch it.
So there is a fine line between a game being entertaining and then absorbing your attention and then your time, and then you acquiring skills in the game, having learned in the first steps what happens, dedicating even more time. And then on the other side, it becoming a job where the entertainment factor is less prevalent or less front and central. Yeah. On the other hand, your ability to stick to it, to persist, to be resilient, or to build skills that are not easy to replicate by others is even more important. How do you think both Axie is perceiving this transformation on one hand, and how do you think the psychology of those who are happy of their earnings, but at the same time wondering about what is going on? Do you think that is happening in some way?
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Because so I don't think that every person in the Philippines wants to become a full-time Axie player. And that sounds like a silly thing to have to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think that's important context. That's certainly not our goal as an organization that is helping people play this game. It's not our goal to turn every Filipino into a full-time Axie player.
And Luis, apologies. I don't think you actually shared the information about your organization. So this is a good opportunity to do so.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So the company's called Yield Guild Games. The idea is that we're kind of like an investment firm for these NFT game assets. And that sounds like a weird concept, but these Axies actually. So I've got a stuffed toy here that I'm just going to hold it up to the camera just so that we have a visual. But this is not an NFT, right? This is just a stuffed toy that is actually.
Well, if it had some sensor connecting it to the internet, then it could be a node on the Internet of Things, and then it could confirm. There could be a light when the MetaMask wallet is connected. It could say, "Yeah, that's me."
Unfortunately, this is only a $10 stuffed toy. And a $10 stuffed toy is way cheaper than a real digital version of an Axie, because most Axies are currently valued at about $150 a piece. They're actually quite pricey. Why are they $150 a piece? Well, because if you have them, you can use them to earn money. There's an income generating component to owning these Axies. So let's go back to kind of what I just said earlier about how there's something like 800, 900,000 Filipinos currently playing Axie Infinity. Where did they get the $150 times 3? Because you need 3 Axies in order to play this game. So if it's $150, that means you have to buy 3 of them. $500 is quite a lot of money, right? So where did they get that money? The answer is they did not. They did not get that money from anywhere. They borrowed it from companies like us. So Yield Guild, again, so I'm going to go back to my definition. We are an investment firm in digital assets, amongst which Axies are kind of one of our largest holdings. So these little guys here, we've got the digital version of them in our treasury. We own 26,000 of them. So it's, kind of combined value of about $6 or $7 million, depending on kind of what exchange rate you're using. So we've got a lot. And what do we do? So what we do with them is we lend them out to players who don't have their own capital, right? And they take those Axies, they play them, they generate income for themselves, and YTG charges them 10% of whatever it is that they generate. So the player actually makes the bulk of they get to keep quite a lot of what they earn. YGG basically charges them 10%, which is basically kind of like how they pay the loan back, right? And when they quit, when they don't want to play Axie Infinity anymore, maybe they want to move on to some other stuff, they just return it. There's no security risk because it's all kind of very nicely secured by the blockchain, and we just take them back. We now have the asset back. We can lend it to someone else. So it's both like an investment firm and a lending operation. But the thing that we lend are these digital assets. So it's a very interesting little mechanic.
So I'm showing the URL of Yield Guild on the screen. And I want to take advantage of this to also invite our viewers, if they want, to ask us questions. They can do so on the various platforms where we are streaming live, and I shared the URLs with you in our private chat, Luis. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn simultaneously. And if any of our viewers have questions, we will see them in a shared comment stream, and I will be able to pick the best of the questions to answer live, which is, of course, part of the fun of being interactive and being together with our viewers today.
For sure.
The implications of what you just described are, to me, astonishing, literally world-changing. But before we go there, and somewhat ambitiously in the let's say 20 minutes we have left, try to give a glimpse of what this could be. I know you prepared a few screen browser screens, and it is worth showing them. I am now showing your screen because it makes this very concrete. So please describe what we are seeing.
Sure. So this is the official website of Axie Infinity. As you can see, it's very, very, it's very oriented towards a certain type of gamer, which is, it's very cute. It's not intimidating at all. It's actually, if anything, it's actually very benign looking. It doesn't look like it's hard to learn or anything. There is a strategic component, as I was saying. So there is a challenge to learning it, and certainly there's a challenge to playing it properly. But the game itself, it looks pretty cute, right? Nothing to be afraid of. And that's probably one of the secrets for why it was accepted by so many people so easily. Because no one will look at this and say, oh, that's too much for me. I don't think I can handle this. Like that's almost impossible from looking at visuals like this. If anything, some people might be turned off because it's just too cute. So it's been great, right? I'm just kind of showing some of the visuals here. Let me move on to kind of the more interesting part here. So the mural that you're looking at here, these are images of all these people who have discovered an income from Axie Infinity. But this article is from a year ago. So these are all images that they sent in to kind of add their photo to this mural. And you can see that, it's not just young people. There's a grandma here in the middle, and like it's from all over the country. And I think that what is most interesting about this is that, all of these people have their own stories, right? They all have their own backgrounds. They don't necessarily have to play Axie Infinity full time. They just need a couple of hours a day, and that's enough. That's enough. So also notice that no one is holding up like a laptop or anything like that, because most people can't afford it. So everyone is usually just playing on their mobile phones. So yeah, so when we first started talking about this, it was in August of 2020. And kind of it's skyrocketed since then. Back then, we were talking about like 100,000 daily active users, not even, maybe like 50,000 actually. And in the space of a year, we're now nearing 2 million, and it's been crazy just kind of watching. And as you can imagine, that has other implications on the industry. The first of which is there's probably a whole bunch of other games that want to be the next Axie Infinity. So part of one of the things that Yield Guild really cares about is that we actually, sorry, it's actually this article up here. We look at all of the other games that are out there, and we try to figure out which of them are most likely to become the next Axie Infinity, and we make investments in them. So there's a few here. This is not a definitive list. There's lots of other games out there because everyone looks at the success of Axie and they say, we got to raise some money, and then we got to build the next Axie, right? So these are all kind of some of the games. This one's pretty sexy. That's some nice graphics you've got there. But yeah, most of them are young. Most of them are kind of in active development, meaning that they're not ready for prime time yet. And the thing maybe that I should mention also about Axie Infinity itself is that we talk about it like it's a very mature product. It's an alpha. This is the alpha state of the game, and they repeat that many times. The founders, they have to keep reminding people that this is not the final version of the game that we are kind of already all enjoying, because they're still trying to perfect the economics of it. They're still trying to perfect the game design, and that takes time. They've just been lucky that kind of so many people have embraced it to the point that most people forget that it's an alpha state game. But yeah, it's basically kind of the most far ahead of all of the play to earn concepts out there. I think that most of these other ones are actually still playing catch up, and that's my personal opinion, by the way. And certainly I would be open to people to who wanted to maybe debate me on that. But
Well,
generally speaking,
one of the features of these worlds is that there very well could be another 2 million per 2 million person per day active user base a game where 50% of the active users are Colombians,
yeah, for
and
sure.
maybe you don't even know about it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely. So part of the strategy of YGG is that we are not, although we are Filipino led, we are not based in the Philippines. So we're actually in 24 countries. So the kind of the brain trust is looking at Latin America, is looking at India, is looking at China. So it's kind of we're trying to monitor all of these different countries simultaneously because we're trying to spot kind of which games are enjoying the most amount of traction.
And
So
and
yeah,
and and by the way, there is a Tunisian project that I would love to connect you with. I just met them a few days ago. They are launching in October.
okay,
Very
okay,
interesting components, and I'm sure
okay.
it will be very interesting. So
Wow.
we have actually Ron sharing an Axie
Oh, it's
an
just a little
axie
emoji.
emoji, and then remarking, Jihos said the current state is around 6% of the whole project.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's
um,
referring to one of the co-founders of Axie Infinity.
yeah,
And yeah, so he's saying that, yeah, which is basically what we were alluding to earlier, right? The game has so far to go in terms of how much more it can get better. But even at where it's at right now, which is, as he said, about 6% of what they intend to do, it's already doing insane amounts of volume and insane amounts of player earnings. So YGG is not representative of Axie at all. We're one of the companies that happens to be kind of complementary to their business. But even us, we have in the last 11 months, we've paid out over $10 million in player income. So we're like it's life changing money if you are stuck at home without a job. Like you actually have a shot again. And yeah, it's very hard
Now
to
let's
not emphasize that enough.
let's talk about YGG Yield Guild Games itself as an opportunity for people to participate. If one of the people viewing this says, "Wow, I understand Axie, but I want to go meta,"
Mm-hmm.
how can they be part of YGG's
Mm-hmm.
adventure itself? Is it an open platform? Is it a closed platform in terms of being an investment fund or fund of funds, as you described it?
Yeah, yeah. So we actually call ourselves a guild of guilds, but
Okay.
yes, it's a kind of a similar concept there. The idea. So there's two things I have to explain. So first is we are very non-traditional. The structure of YGG is that we actually have many guilds. So guilds are groups of gamers, like communities of gamers. Sometimes they're based on geography. So certain regions of the Philippines, all of the people there speak a very specific dialect. They don't actually speak Tagalog, so they would prefer to only talk to other gamers who speak their particular language. So we have one guild that is from that region of the country. We have other guilds that are kind of from different regions of the country, and we all kind of stitch them together by being the main source of capital and the main source of resources for all of those guilds. And that's kind of the way that the strategy has always been. Now, in terms of how you would participate, we have a token. So the YGG token is tradable on platforms like Binance, for example, and a bunch of other kind of the major exchanges. That's the easiest way to get into it if you are just thinking about kind of making an investment in play to earn in general. Because the way that YGG works is that we're the people who are constantly watching the play to earn industry, and
You
we're the ones
represent
who
an
are making.
index. You
Yes, it's
represent an
all, yeah,
index of the
yeah,
industry.
right. So yes, so it's basically an index of all of the other play to earn games there. So rather than having to read through all those white papers yourself, you have to read one white paper, which is the YGG one. Now, granted, obviously, take my don't forget that I am an employee of YGG, so um, I am deeply biased for my company. But that being said, being an index of play to earn, that was always the plan from the beginning. So kind of if this is the kind of thing you're interested in, give it a look. But obviously, make sure you do your research first. Um, so yeah, so that's those are the kind of ways that you would do it. There's another way that you might, if you want to really get your hands dirty, you could actually start your own guild also, start your own little gamer community. You fund it with your own capital. You help kids buy axes of their own so that they can play it, and then you split in the revenue. I did this myself before I joined YGG. So I already, using my own funds, I bought a whole bunch of axes, and then I picked a couple of players who I believed could play the game regularly, and then we were just splitting in the profit. So they are generating income for themselves, and I'm generating income based on the capital that I put in, and it's a win-win for both people, right? So that is hard to scale. Like it's hard to get beyond like maybe 30 or 40 of those, because then you have to manage so many different people. That gets to be kind of a headache. And generally speaking, if you're thinking about hundreds of scholars, you probably want to work with professional guilds who can do the actual management part for you. It gets a little messy once you kind of hit those numbers. But yeah, it's totally possible. Blockchain, we've got a lot of blockchain tools that allow us to kind of make this stuff a little bit easier, that are developed in-house by YGG. So yeah, we've currently got about 5,000 players that are using our assets,
Very,
using our
very
app.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So Crypto Tasio remarks, I remember what Luis said before. He invests in YGG so that he no longer needs to worry about what game to invest in the future.
Yeah, I'm
And
a lazy investor.
Ron again says NFT made real life guilds more meaningful compared to traditional games. And Marky asks a question that I don't know if we have the opportunity to answer at depth, asking about SLP and its future.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I'll
SLP
just do
is.
a quick definition first. So SLP is the main currency that the Axie players earn. He is asking a question about like whether the price of SLP will go back up. So it did the crypto thing, right? So in a period of great hype, the SLP price skyrocketed, and then as is always the case with these things, it dropped in a market correction. And if you're a crypto person, none of that stuff is interesting, or
So
not
I am
interesting, not surprising.
showing AXS on
So these are two
CoinMarketCap.
different, yeah, these are
Okay.
two different tokens. So AXS is a what we call the governance token for Axie Infinity. SLP is the token that the players actually earn. So there's two different tokens that are at play here. So that's why AXS, by the way, is having it's on a tear recently. It's doing
Yeah.
very, very
And, and
well.
and sorry, is that it? Is this smooth
Yes,
rough
it's that one.
potion? Okay.
Yes, that's it.
Nice.
That's the one you should be looking at. Yeah. So if you look at the chart, it was very, very sharp about 2 months ago, and it's kind of dropped quite a lot since then. So the question was whether or not it will recover. So the first thing I will say is that I do think it will recover, but I think that you should be ready to wait for that, because the game itself is still being improved upon. And the reason why that price is low is because there's way more people who are playing Axie Infinity right now than there are people that are using the SLP for to create more Axies. So that's kind of the interesting part of the economics of Axie Infinity. And this is the part where I think I just have to say that there's a lot more detail here that it would and this show is not long enough to go into all of those details. But bottom line, yes, I do believe it will go back up, but you have to be either willing to wait, or you just take the price as it is right now, turn it into the fiat that you need or the pesos that you need, and just accept that it's just not very high right now, but it's still better than not earning anything, right? So
Yes.
that's kind of the way I think about these things.
Yes.
Don't wait too long. If you need the money now, don't wait, just use it. So that's fine.
Now, the big question with which to end today's conversation for me is that play to earn on Axie or any other game builds your specific skill of the game by giving you incentives that you can then translate in improving your life.
Mm-hmm.
So play to earn is actually learn to earn.
Interesting.
Except that we are programmed to downplay the importance of play in our lives, believing that until you are 5, you're allowed to play, and then starting with school, play should be a diminishing component of your life until it vanishes because you are an adult and you cannot afford to play. You shouldn't play. If you play, you waste your time. And Axie is the proof of the opposite, that play can be important, valuable. It can give you skills that are marketable. It can give you opportunities to understand more things, like someone who is successful as a guild member on Axie could, as you say, graduate in catalyzing new guilds and then managing those guilds and so on.
Oh, yeah.
So,
sure.
From your position as an observer of the play to earn industry, do you see this being perceived at all? Because the end result, in my opinion, could be to realize that acquiring skills and acquiring ability to provide value to a community is so important universally that everyone should be paid in order to acquire skills. And being universally paid in order to acquire skills is the very definition of universal basic income. It means that society recognizes that your passion and your talent are important by themselves, and that you deserve to have the opportunity to improve your condition. So how do you see that? Is that something that the industry is realizing at all?
Let me answer that question by telling you about a very experimental guild that I've been working on for the last month. So this is called the CryptoPop Art Guild, and what that is I have about 150 artists currently in my guild, and these kids are either unemployed or underemployed artists from all over the Philippines. They are from marginalized communities. Typically, they can't afford a computer at home, so they draw. If they draw, they draw on their cell phones, right? So it's that kind of level. And one of the things that we are trying to do here is we are combining the income generated from playing Axie Infinity. We're combining it with art mentorship, so that these kids can learn how to become NFT artists and sell their art in the global setting, and allow people, kind of share their work with not just other Filipinos, but share them with all other people in all other art collectors in the world. So going back to kind of what you were talking about, the universal basic income, I look at play to earn as a stepping stone that will allow people to generate just enough money to put food on the table. And because you only do it 2 to 3 hours a day, it makes it a lot easier for you to kind of think about other stuff. In this case, our players are also artists. They're deeply passionate about art, but they've never figured out how to make enough money from it to just do that. And the goal of the guild is not to make all of these players rock star Axie players. We're not trying to build world champions here. What we're trying to make is world-class artists. And eventually, I want all of these kids to graduate and not play Axie again. I want them to be artists, right? Because that's what they really wanted to do. But in the meantime, we're going to set you up with an Axie team. You can generate enough income for yourself. We will also set you up with equipment loans so that you can buy a better tablet or maybe a small computer or something like that, because I can afford to give you an equipment loan because I know that you are generating regular income from Axie Infinity. So now there is a way for me to underwrite the loan safely without having to charge you, a terrible interest rate. So yeah, all of these things together, I think, will put people on a path that was not possible before, purely because they could not find a regular basic income. And that's why it's powerful. So again, I should say that it's experimental in the sense that, we don't know if it's going to work. I mean, obviously I'm going to work my butt off to try to make it work. But just to kind of give you an idea of how we got to 150 players so quickly, I was prepared to fund about 30 players kind of out of my own pocket. But when I started talking to my friends about it, everyone started to chuck in some money. And we ended up raising something like $200,000 kind of very randomly from a whole bunch of friends of mine who were all interested in supporting this concept. So I was like, okay, well, now that I've got some money, I guess that means we have to adjust our targets accordingly. So that's kind of how we ended up in, kind of these very, it's like a much larger guild size. I think we'll probably stop at about 200 players or 200 artists. And then by December, we are hoping that we can do our first big NFT art exhibit as a group, and then see where that takes us. So yeah, but
It is,
I
and it
totally
is a
agree with the
beautiful,
UBI idea.
it is a beautiful example of a journey that can be analyzed and then replicated in different environments, different types of skills, you started with the digital artists because the current wave of NFT applications is around selling digital art,
Yes.
but with the necessary adjustments, this line of reasoning can be for sure applied to coding, to
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
marketing, to sales, to all of the types of digital work that we know we could do. Uh,
Yeah.
how anywhere in the world while being globally interconnected,
Yes.
and
Sure.
that is the beauty of today's emerging civilization. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't yet realize that this is actually happening, and that is why working, to go back to the beginning, working with regulators is so important, because we have to teach them, we have to educate them, so that they understand what is even happening. And uh, someone is writing in Tagalog. I don't know if you to show their remark. I hope what they are saying is positive. There you go. They are
Yeah, yeah.
laughing,
No,
and I
saying that it's just an expression. It's just saying that,
okay.
you know, we're strong. That's what we're saying.
Okay,
That's what
very good, very
that's
good.
fine.
I'm happy that that our viewers are enjoying our conversation. So, what you described for me is extremely inspiring, both in the concrete. You know, the lives of these 200 digital artists are going to be changed by what you are doing, but also as an example for others to think about and to
Yeah.
apply it in other countries, in other skill sets, in other
Yeah.
platforms,
Yeah.
because it is really world changing. So,
Yeah.
thank you very much. This was, I hope, just one of many conversations, and I'm looking forward to follow Yield Guild as it develops further. And Luis, please keep me up to date, keep us up to date with how these experiments are working out, what you are
Of course.
learning. I understand you also have a newsletter. What is the URL,
Yeah.
so that people can keep up to date with
Yeah.
what you are sharing?
Sure, yeah. So it's cryptoday.substack.com. So Substack is kind of that newsletter platform, right? So it's very friendly to writers. So the name of the newsletter is Crypto Day. Yeah, so I've been trying to do that as regularly as I can, kind of taking all of the crypto news and kind of condensing them into a single newsletter that's kind of more relevant to the Filipino reader, because, you know, like, there's a lot of stuff, really really good writing out there. Unfortunately, it's not all of it is relevant to Filipinos, because there's a very specific type of crypto that is big here. I mean, i.e. Axie Infinity and kind of certain other things, right? So I guess kind of what I wanted to do there was I wanted to make something that was actually a little bit more specific to the Filipino audience. So that's why I've been kind of doing that. I think I just published my 50th issue just this morning, and it's been a great ride. I really enjoy kind of doing it, and people always find it useful. Hopefully they continue to find it useful. And yeah, and one of my things is I'm never gonna charge for it. Right, it's always gonna be free, because I also don't want to be what's the word, beholden to advertisers or sponsors. That's kind of a specific strategy also. So I
That's
want to
right.
do it for free so I can say whatever the heck I want.
Well, you can do it for free, and you can allow people to donate. There
Yeah,
are
sure.
many ways to do that, for sure. So if someone wants to thank you for it, they should have a way to do so. Marky is thanking us about the informative session, and wants
That's a
us to
greeting.
greet
That's a
Nix
birthday
Yamat
greeting.
for a birthday greeting. Okay, so
Funny.
let's do that. Nix
Yeah,
Yamat,
happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
I guess. Yeah. Happy birthday, buddy.
All right.
It's funny.
And Will is also thinking that it has been useful. So
Cool.
thank you very much, Luis. I had a lot of fun in listening to what you said, and I hope to have you back in a future episode.
For sure. Thank you so much, David. This was wonderful. To the people who are watching, see you guys again soon, hopefully. Cheers, everyone.
So thank you very much for following what is new in the world of blockchain. You are welcome to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and in general, together with us, think about what are the broad and deep implications of cryptocurrencies, blockchain technologies, because we are really just at the very beginning. See you at the next episode.